we go. There we go. We're live. You must you must have God's blessing because rarely does it happen that easily for me. Normally it's like, no, it's not going to happen. Um, so welcome tonight. We will have people hopping on here. I know I have a really special guest tonight. I have Christy here, and Christy lost her niece, who died of suicide a couple weeks ago, and just really appreciate you being here. And I guess is it your brother is her dad, Callie's dad?
Yes.
Yeah. So Jimmy had said,
Yes.
I had said, when you're ready and if you want to come on, and he said, well, how would it be if, my sister came on and said you and Callie were just super close.
Yes, we were.
Tell me, tell me,
Mm.
tell me about this young lady was the same age as my daughter. So I think your story really was a sucker punch to me because I have an eighth grader. I have a newly turned 14-year-old, and it just really hit home.
I understand. She was very bright and bubbly and funny and very artistic, and she loved to be dirty. Like, she was painting. She had to paint from head to toe. If she was doing some kind of artwork, there were, beads or buttons or whatever she's working on, it was everywhere. She just loved art, and she was very outgoing until about sixth grade. I think that's where you start being more self-conscious and, aware of, and you think everybody's watching you and looking at you, because you're an adolescent.
Right.
And then the bullying started. The bullying started about sixth, seventh grade.
And when bullying starts, what does that look like, or what do you hear at home?
The kids would pick on her about her mother being passed, being dead, or her mother died in a car wreck in 2018, and she got picked on about that, which I think that's pretty horrible.
And
She was
Chris,
picked on. She was really tall, so they picked on her for her height or for her weight or for her, anything they could find. That these kids, they have this saying now that, and I hear it's very popular. It's not just at school, but "go kill yourself" is what they tell each other. I have no words for that. Like,
right.
I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't I had read, and you read things and you don't know if they're true, but I think your brother had said to me that she was picked on for the death of her mother. And I thought,
Yes,
I grew up in the 80s. I don't know how old you are. I'm 48. And
52.
that was never, there was plenty of bullies and plenty of picking on, but not for that.
No, nothing that low.
Right. Like, maybe I'm just old. I don't even understand how that could possibly be something you would pick on somebody about. I mean, anyway, that just really is flabbergasting to me.
That's what she told us Monday night. She came home, that Monday, and was telling us about the little boys picking on her and bullying her at school. And we were giving her advice and telling her, you need to not respond. Once you learn to just not respond to them, they'll move on to somebody else.
And
And she would say, "Well, you're old. You don't understand."
this was Callie's first day of school, eighth grader this year, just a couple weeks ago, right? Monday was their first day.
Yes, first day of school.
If you're not in North Carolina, public schools in North Carolina generally started on that day. So my younger two started that day as well. So she came home that night and was telling you kind of things that had happened, and you were trying to give her advice of what to do.
Yeah, because to me, you want to teach your kids to be resilient and learn how to handle things on their own. You don't want to step in at every issue.
Right.
So I'm giving her advice and I'm saying, don't respond. They'll leave you alone. Don't cry. Don't let them know it bothered you. just look at them and roll your eyes and walk away, or go to the principal, go tell them what's going on. And she would say, snitches get stitches. And, I worked in the jail in the county for 5 years. And that's a very common saying in jail. I've never thought about it being in middle school. But apparently, if you go tell them the bully and they get in trouble, then the next day they'll jump you.
Hmm.
So she didn't want anybody to step in. She didn't want anybody to talk to him. But, my brother told her he was going to go up there Tuesday. And then Tuesday, she got moved out of that class and moved back into art. And she loved art. And she won an art award. And she won a $50 gift card. And she was so excited. And she had a wonderful day Tuesday. So he's like, well, I'll give it another day. And
Right.
I don't want to go today. She had a great day.
Which I think
And
is,
then Wednesday happened.
I think as a mother, that is exactly what all of us that feel like we're being good parents would do. Your child
Hmm.
says that was the first day. Well, let's see if what can we do to make it better? The next day you have a great day. You hate to then what are you going to call? It's like, well, maybe things are on the upswing.
Right.
And then what happened?
Right.
And then Wednesday was not a good day.
Yeah. And we've been trying to piece together what happened Wednesday. We know she was looking for the principal in the cafeteria. One of her friends told us that the same little boy from Monday told her nobody likes you, go kill yourself. Another friend told us that some kids played a very mean prank on her and told her that the little boy she had a crush on liked her. And I guess she found out he didn't. And she was very upset over that. And she was going to go snitch, is what they call it. She was going to go snitch on one of the little boys. And her friend told her, don't do that. He's not the one that started it. But we don't know who started it. And we don't know what transpired. But apparently that was too much. So I told the principal what I knew and asked him to see what he could find out. I've heard nothing back in a week. So,
And I guess who the child was that told her to go kill herself.
we do.
And what has been the response from his family?
Nothing. We've heard nothing. Um, he was, let's see, my days have run together, so I'm not sure what day was what, but I have a friend that's in administration with school systems, with counseling services, and she's been doing a lot of the in between, work. And she came to see us one day, and my brother was kind of upset that he was still playing sports, and um, I was prepared to go to the game the next day with signs. And I think the next day, the football players actually went to, from what people are telling me, so I wasn't there, but I was told the football players went to the office and said, we're not playing with him on our team. And they kicked him off the team. And then I was told that he was sent to, the school for problems, issues. I don't know. But no, his family hasn't reached out. And what little bit I do know is from kids or my friend that's in the school system that's been talking to us. And um, I know they've come out with some new bullying policies, and um, yeah, but
And
nothing from his family.
I saw one of those bullying policies was related to, if you do this, you're not going to play sports. You're not going to, it was kind of a pretty hard line. Do you think,
Hmm.
do you think that's helpful in preventing it?
I have an issue with it because they had a bullying policy in place and they didn't enforce it. So, you have a new bullying policy and it's strict and more strict than what you did have, but what makes me think you're going to enforce it when you didn't enforce the first one? So, and I've been told that there's athlete contracts about bullying that's been passed around. And to me, bullies are not just athletes. So to me, it should be every kid, that has a contract. But I want to see. Okay, my whole issue is I asked for her file and I was told I could get it, but none of this would be in there. So then I asked for disciplinary records where she was either the victim or the perpetrator and any kind of counseling files. And there's very little in there. And I know she's been to the office, and I know the principal last year basically told her to suck it up one of the times that she went in. Well, that was the actual quote. Um, and her friends say she's been in the office many, many times over bullies in the past 2 years. I asked for documentation, and I was told they don't document. So I said, the same. If five different kids go to the office that day and name the same kid that's bullying them, you're not documenting any of that. You don't have to tell the parents or anything. The answer is no. They don't document any student complaints unless there's like aggression, violent behavior, um, and they don't tell the parents. So if you don't know how bad it is, and your kids are not telling you, or they're telling you not to go to the office, what are you supposed to do? Like, how do you know what's going on at school? And you expect, my understanding, my mother retired from the school system with 29 years. I think she had enough time saved to make it 30. But, we always thought when you were in school, the school system was there to act in place of the parent to make sure you're safe and you get an education. And that's not just about school shootings, that's about the bullying, that, everything. And to me, not documenting student complaints is neglectful, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Yeah. I've never thought about that or known anything about that. Uh, the 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 parents not reaching out to you is just a real I know Callie was like a daughter to you, and obviously,
Hmm.
um but I lost my only sibling to cancer. His name was Adam, and he was 19 and I was 15. And
Right.
it was a rare cancer. Nobody could do a thing about it, right? It just happened. And so when I was pregnant with my first son, my mother was really intent on me breastfeeding. And I finally
Hmm.
said, "You didn't breastfeed. I don't know why you're so hyper, anxious over this thing." And she said something, and it's always stuck with me. She said, "I wonder if I had breastfed, if Adam wouldn't have died of cancer."
Oh.
And I said, "Oh, Mom, you couldn't have stopped that." And I know, Christy, I know that you and your brother, I know your minds are going 100 miles an hour of all the things you wish you could have done or you should have done. And I'm just here to tell you, I think you did the best you could with what you knew. And it is not your fault. It was not your fault. And I know people that love you are telling you that, but I just want you to know that from another mother who I really try my best too. I don't think you could have done anything differently. Um, and a lot of people, not Callie, made terrible choices that day. And I'm just so
Hmm.
sorry. I think as a parent, it makes us all stop. I mean, it has certainly made me stop. I think I've made a point of talking to my children about not being the bully, not only not being bullied, but not what do you do when somebody's around you? What can we do to make sure this doesn't happen? And we know it's happening.
Right.
And how
Right.
North Carolina has very strong policies. If you bring a weapon to school, you don't come back to school for 365 days. You know, you're done. And so to me, this weaponry of words needs to be taken equally seriously, you know?
Yes.
And I that's the only thing I can think of is, and I don't know what that would look like, but I think somebody is going to have to say this policy, we're not kidding around. You know,
Hmm.
it's not happening in this school. Um, uh, do you feel like do you feel like y'all have made any progress in your district? Do you feel like you're being heard?
I feel like we're being pacified. I don't think we're being taken seriously. I mean, I think the community felt it, and it's unbelievable how many people have reached out. Um, I'm going to say my brother has close to 500 stories of bullying in this community, in this county, and a big portion of them are from that one school. And I, I don't know. I just feel like, my brother mentioned they shouldn't have extracurriculars and all that, so they come out with the bullying policy, and um, we've heard rumor that teachers have had to sign a contract that if they see something, they have to say something or they could be fired. But to me, that's just moving, like shifting liability for them. To me, that's not. I mean, to me, you have to change the culture in the school, like where the kids are not afraid to report it, and the teachers have some backing when they do report it.
Right.
Um, and instead of just contracts for athletes or a new bullying policy, show me in writing where it says every child's complaint has to be documented and investigated. I'm aware of how kids are, and I know they could sit and, they said they had an online button on their page where you could press it and report bullying or whatever. And those are documented. Those go directly to the counselor.
Hmm.
But, and I'm aware that a kid could, not like another kid and sit and press it all day long. But, you know, some of this stuff has got to be followed up on and documented. And especially if it's an ongoing issue, same kid in the office over and over and over and over, or you're hearing the same name for complaints, why is it not being, you know, documented? Why are the parents not being informed? Either the bullies or the kid that's being bullied, the parents should be informed. Um,
And
I mean, we trust them to have our kids at school. That's their job.
I talk a lot about social media, and my daughter really wants Snapchat, and I haven't allowed her to get it. Though I just found out today that last week she downloaded it herself for a day, and then I guess decided she was going to get in trouble, so she deleted it. But anyway, um, it's clearly an ongoing discussion and things we're talking about. And I was thinking to myself, what if they didn't have phones at school? Would that? It just I always feel like these darn phones cause a lot of problems, though it doesn't sound like in this case they were. But my own principals in the past have said to me, Mondays are days that are filled with problems that happened over social media on the weekend.
Right.
What did she have any? Was there anything going online that was tough on her, or was it in person?
Well, that I'm not sure of because the sheriff's department took the phone and the Chromebook, and we haven't gotten anything back yet.
Oh,
Um, and they're going to keep it until the autopsy results come back. And the way they talk to you, Snapchat, the thing goes away. Like whatever they send you, it goes away. So you really can't prove anything through Snapchat. So that's why a lot of people use Snapchat, and
right.
they can get away with a lot more. So I don't know if there was anything going on this year, but I do know last year, um, she showed me a group chat with probably 50 kids in it, and they were bullying one of her friends. And I said, Callie, I said, you need to defend her. That's your friend. And she said, Christy, I can't. They'll make it worse on me tomorrow. So I think, even the kids that are getting bullied, some of them, maybe fall into that bullying as well to keep them off of them, you know. So I
Right.
think, even one of her best friends last year, which is one of the really good kids, really good kids, but she was with another girl and she made a phone call to Callie and, told her she didn't want to be friends with her again, had her just so upset she was crying and called her back and said, oh, I was just pranking you, you know. So, even the good kids are doing it. So I don't know.
I just,
I would love to see the phones gone though. I think anybody under 18 shouldn't even own one. Um, I get for safety measures, it's nice for your kid to have a phone, but for safety measures, it's also nice for them not to have a phone. Their brain is not fully developed till they're 25, and you
right.
know, she couldn't see that there was a future. Like it'll get better. It's not always going to be this way, and it's hard to tell somebody when the life revolves around school that it's not a big deal. It'll get better, but it is a big deal at that age.
Well, Christy, I had on, I know your brother said you followed me before this, but I had
I
on a,
did.
oh, I'm so glad. I had on a dad, a state representative from South Carolina whose son died by suicide after sextortion. And so he had been, his son had just finished high school and had been texting with who he thought was a girl who was in college a year ahead of him and sent him some pictures and then had him send some pictures. And he realized that this was not a girl, this was a scammer who wanted money from him. And he sent $100 and then the scammer wanted more money and he didn't have any more money. And his dad that night was on his computer working away and his son walked down the hall past him and went in the bathroom and shot himself. And and he said the same thing. He said, the one thing I wish I had done differently, and this really stuck with me, is that I think we talk to our children about social media and we say like, whatever you put on social media, it's out there forever. It's forever,
Hmm.
forever. And we really push this forever. And he said, I wish I hadn't done that because I feel like he didn't think there was a way out.
Oh,
Like what you're saying, like
yeah.
this feels so big, but it doesn't have to feel big. You know,
Right.
I can help you get out of this. We can get out of this together.
Right.
And that really changed things for me because we tell our children that about everything else. I'm always
Hmm.
I can do everything for you. So
Right.
we don't need to make things like this seem like this is the end of the world.
Right.
Anyway, I just really thought that was good advice. And he said, and don't send sexual pictures, but if you're going to send a picture, make sure your face isn't in it. You know,
Right.
like what we say to our children, like, we really don't want you to have sex, but if you're going to, let's talk about birth control, like
Right.
we can do both things. And I
Right.
thought it was helpful. Well, how are y'all getting through every day?
Well, really, since it happened, we've been busy. We've had a lot of company. We've had a lot of food and flowers. People are still throwing flowers out by the sign at the neighborhood, and um, a lot of chat on the anti-bullying page on Facebook. And we just had two events this weekend. Some friends of mine came up with a barbecue fundraiser and put it together and did it on Saturday. And our town had a festival, and some of my brother's friends who were selling shirts and bandanas and decals, like everybody was giving him stuff to sell, and they all sit down there. He's friends and sold all that stuff and signs. And um, we have another cousin who's making shirts, and she sold some of hers there. And people were donating baked goods to sell and tumblers and tea towels. So we had, this weekend has been busy with fundraisers. And that when we're at mom and dad's, there's lots of visitors, and they haven't gone back home. They don't want to go back. And that was my grandparents' home. And, we really wanted to keep it in the family and not sell it. And at this point, I think it's just going to be sold because they don't want to go back. And I don't blame them.
How's your nephew doing? Callie had one younger brother. Has one younger brother.
Well, he was actually older. He's 16.
Oh, he's older. Okay.
Yeah. He's the one that found her. Um, he called 911 and tried to do CPR and chest compressions on her until they got there. And, he's a caretaker. He's got to check on everybody, make sure everybody's okay, see if they need anything. That's just his personality. So he's, trying to be tough, but he's having nightmares, and he's dreading. He goes back to school tomorrow, and he's dreading going back to school because he says, at school I kind of fly under the radar and I'm a ghost. And he said, now I'm going to go back to school and everybody's going to be looking at me and they're all going to know who I am. And I just don't know how I'm going to handle it. So I don't, I think, I mean, we've all decided we're all going to go to counseling because I think we're all beating ourselves up and having regrets and wishing we'd have, could have found the right thing to say that would have prevented it, or, you know, something to where I think we're all going to go.
You you did the best you could with what you knew.
Yeah. Yeah.
You did the best you could with what you knew. And I think if only if life had a rewind button, it's like
Right. Right.
if you, but maybe for another family, what would you say to another family who's listening and saying, my own daughter, my own son is having these same struggles, and we're trying to help her or him work through them. What would you say to them, knowing what you know now, what you wish you had known?
I would say go through their phone every day. Don't let them have Snapchat because then they can hide it, or Discord. Go to the school. Go to the school for every complaint. Make sure everything is documented. The school doesn't document it, you document it. Don't assume they're taking care of your children because that's not always the case.
And I was even thinking, like, as 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 hard as it might seem to be, like, let's switch schools, but really, maybe you got to think about big alternatives when things aren't going right.
Well, we did that Monday. She had decided last year she didn't want to go back. And, I told you my mom was a teacher for 29 years. So mom decided she would homeschool her. And she came up this summer and said, I want to go back to school because I want to be with my friends and I don't want to do the homeschool thing. And even Monday night, mom tried to get her to, just let her homeschool. And she said, no, I want to be with my friends. But we found out in the last couple of weeks that she's got a pretty good sized friend group. But of that friend group, at least 3 of them were pulled out of school this year to be homeschooled for that same reason.
Mm.
Um, so they're not the only ones. There's others. There's another child that was in Brenner's last week for taking a bottle of aspirin because of bullying in the same county.
Same
But
di-
yeah, we tried to talk her into homeschooling. I think we should have just maybe we should have just made her.
well, I love having a daughter, and I tell you what, it's awfully hard to make them do anything that they don't want.
Right, right.
That that,
That's
that
true.
that's a quick way to make life not fun at all, is to
And
have
make a quick enemy is
yeah, I mean, golly. There's um, so everybody is asking, and you can answer this or not answer this. It hadn't even occurred to me, but are you considering taking legal action against the school system?
Um, my brother doesn't want to. He says he doesn't want it to be about money.
Hmm.
Um, we've had a lot of people tell us we should. We've had lawyers reach out and tell us we should. Um, I don't know what the answer is on that yet. I don't think he's completely decided because people are trying to encourage him to. I have no clue what he's going to do, but he just said he didn't want it to be about money. And
Hmm.
you know, somebody said, "Well, what if you do it and then give the money back to the school and tell them what they have to spend it on? This is given back to you, but you have to spend it on bullying programs. You have to spend it on documentation and education and researching these complaints." You know, I mean, there's a lot of things that's being considered, so I don't know what he's going to do.
Well, and you have time. Yeah, that will. When I was reading kind of other cases, there was a big case that was settled in California, and the family was awarded $27 million. And I think the same thing. It's not like they're going on some vacation, but it's like, we all know that sometimes money really speaks to really speaks to somebody about change.
Right.
So I wouldn't take it off the table. I would. You have time and you can think about it, and sometimes I hope the school system listens without that. I haven't I haven't felt like, according to your brother, that the school system has been. It just didn't. He he just doesn't sound like the superintendent is. I'm not hearing what I would want to hear or what I would want to happen if it were my child in my district.
Right.
No, I think sometimes there's this thought that if we say we're sorry, that we're like accepting responsibility. And I think
Mhm.
it's really important to say I'm sorry, and if somebody says to you I'm sorry and they mean it, it really would go a long way.
Right. Right.
Even with the boy that bullied her, I don't think that he didn't he couldn't have known, he was a child, that would happen.
Right.
And not wanting that to be on his shoulders the rest of his life, and
Right.
apologizing and working through that. And I think your family going through counseling is genius and smart. And my family never did, and we didn't have, maybe the death wasn't as traumatic, but I will tell you it was really hard. We should have. um,
I'm sure.
it's real easy to bury all that hurt and to put a smile on and to keep moving forward, and sooner or later it will come back. And it, it
Thank
you
you.
yeah, you just can't run from grief like that.
Right.
You can't run from it, because it will follow you. It will follow you.
Well,
um
you were speaking of the little boy with, I don't want all of it on his shoulders either. He wasn't the only little boy. There were two in the report. Um, and there was the other situation with the little boy she liked. So I think they all need to be punished, not just the one kid. And we haven't heard any apologies from any of her bullies' parents. And several of them know they were bullies, and a couple of them were friends of mine's children that I hadn't heard a word from.
well, then I would say they're not really your friends.
I agree.
I remember I had a cousin that called me one time, and my son had done something unkind to her son, his own family. And she called and said, I just want you to know that this happened. And it wasn't anything to that degree, but it was unkind. And, you know, we sat and talked about it. It wasn't any like, well, why are you calling about my child? It was, thank you for calling me. And we are so sorry. And we will handle this, and you will hear back.
Right.
Like, we're trying to all raise good humans, and we might not do the best all the time, but we can certainly try.
Right.
Um, but you see parents and they don't appear to be trying.
Yeah, some never engage, or they're too busy on their phone. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot of adult bullying going on online.
Well, that's the truth. I tell you what, we're grown-ups and Callie
Mhm,
was a girl and just minding her own business. I would say doing work on the internet is hard. I mean, you will get annihilated all the time, but
mhm,
it's different when I'm making a choice to be somewhere and do something and but still aware of like, wow, there are some people out there that are really, maybe they're in jail. I don't know how they have this much time on their hands to hate me this much. Why do they keep watching?
right,
You know,
right.
you have to, yeah,
Understand.
yeah, like what in the world? Um, well, I'm just so appreciative that you came on and that you talked to us a little bit and told us about Callie. And I'm just so sorry.
Well, thank you for covering it. I think it's a very important issue, and it's Suicide Awareness Month, and um, I hope people take it seriously and stand up for these kids so this doesn't happen again.
Yeah,
I hate for anybody to have to go through that.
I would too. And I think parents, if your child is the one, you heard Christy say, go through your child's phone. You can do that tonight. You go through their phone and you might say, you know what, we're not going to have Snapchat. And if you go through a phone or you hear, or even reaching out to school and saying, hey, just keep me updated on what's happening with my child at school. Are they
Mhm.
are they okay? Are they, uh anyway, I think we, particularly middle school, elementary school, everybody goes out and helps the teachers and does different little things. And then middle school,
Right.
sort of this abyss in our middle school, needs parents. We need families at middle school, maybe more than any other part of the school district, I think.
I agree. I agree.
And so what if there was a parent every day at lunch, or what if there was a parent every day, just one adult extra, in the school system to have eyes and ears and maybe listen or talk or,
I asked for cameras in the classrooms.
mm,
I think that they have them on the bus, put them in the classroom. That
right.
way, Callie was punished last year for pushing a little boy down in PE. She got 2 periods of ISS in PE. And I told we have a new principal this year. And I told the new principal, I said, and I'm sure you're not aware of this because it's not documented, but the kid she pushed down was a little boy that had followed her and her friend around for 2 days. And he inappropriately touched the friend, and Callie knocked him down. And I said, again, the bullies are not documented. You
Right.
know, like
Right.
put cameras in these rooms so when you can go back and see what the origin of this is.
Right. Well, and we can follow the rules, but it sounds like you're probably like me, where I say if somebody puts their hands on you or your
Hmm.
son,
Hmm.
get the what out of them,
That's right.
because you don't have to worry about daddy and I. We got your
That's
back.
right. That's right.
So no offense, but I want the school to do their job, but I'm the ultimate say.
Right.
So
That's
I
right.
totally agree. Well, you've given me a lot to think about, and I'll look forward to talking to your brother and hearing what our next steps are. Just as we kind of move through and see what else we can do to get tough about this um,
Right.
weaponry of talking. Um, but thank you for coming on.
And
Please give your family a big hug from me.
thank you. I will. And thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you, Christy. Talk to you later.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.